Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, and we are coming to you from the Big Island in northern Michigan, of course, and we're on the Grand Hotel, and we are here because this is where the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce chooses to have their annual policy conference. And what's in the middle of policy more than the damn roads, for God's sakes? Zach Kolodin, thanks so much for joining us. Zach is actually the chief infrastructure officer. Zach, that covers a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So let's talk about that. What is your job?
So this job was created for the special reason of pursuing federal dollars and winning them and deploying them toward the infrastructure priorities that we all share. Fixing our roads, fixing our water systems, getting clean water coming out of the tap, building the foundations of a resilient energy system that can transition to clean energy, and
bridges in there too.
bridges, absolutely, rail, transit, and connecting every Michigander to high-speed internet.
Okay, so this is a quick little story. Gretchen called me, and I was on her first kitchen cabinet, and she said, "What can I do for small business?" And I said, "Number one is get them high-speed internet throughout the state, because you exclude a lot of people when you don't have that connectivity." How's that going?
It's going great. So we have two major sources of funding for high-speed internet connection, both of which on their own would be unprecedented investments. One of them is called the Robin program, and the Michigan High-Speed Internet Office is getting those dollars out the door today, right? They are finalizing the contract, signing on the dotted line so that folks can get out in the field and connect people to the internet. And that's more than $250 million in investment all across this great state. Second, we've got this opportunity from the bipartisan infrastructure law, and that's a $1.6 billion investment in Michigan's broadband infrastructure from what's called the BEAD program, or Broadband Equity Access and Deployment. And it's a mouthful.
Acronyms.
I know, right? And that money will ultimately flow out the door next year. The High-Speed Internet Office has been working closely with their counterparts at the feds to make sure our maps are exactly right, and we're connecting just the households that need access to the internet, so that we can get those dollars out the door as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Well, okay, so redistribution, make sure it goes in the right spot, get the best deal, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about the roads for a second, because we had Glenn Stevens on from Mish Auto and a number of other people about mobility in the street. So are we building the roads now with tomorrow's traffic in mind? And I say that because we're moving more to EV, and we'll probably move more there when there's more charging stations. Is there things that need to be built into the roads to prepare for that?
That's a great question. I would reframe it slightly. Not only are we rebuilding our roads with tomorrow's traffic in mind, but with tomorrow's people in mind, tomorrow's mobility patterns. People of this generation, the Zoom generation, if you will, they move differently than previous generations do. They're deciding where to live based on what access to mobility they have.
Public transportation
in some cases, or walkable communities. And so we do need to build transportation infrastructure that facilitates those kinds of ways of life. So yes, we are rebuilding roads and bridges all across the state with the Rebuilding Michigan program and the entire transportation plan. We've done more than 25,000 lane miles of road during this administration. And, we are making the highways a safer place where people can more reliably get where they're going and not break their axle or crack their windshield, whatever the case may be. Those kinds of stories that used to be so common on Michigan's highways. But we do need to think carefully about how we invest in the hearts of our communities to enable people to feel connected, enable people to feel like they can, go to a local business. They can get from their house to where they want to go using multiple modes of transportation, whether that's a bike or their legs or a car.
I'm knocked out at the lower percentage of kids who are getting their driver's license.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, and it is no surprise that as people think about how to save for the future, how to, build a home, build a family wherever they live, that at least when they're young, they want to think about maybe I go with one car, maybe I go with zero cars. And in order to enable them to move to our communities, we need to provide them with options for other ways to get around. So to your earlier question on EVs, we are thinking very carefully about how to have a statewide EV network. We are installing fast EV chargers, the kind of EV chargers where you plug in and you're done charging your car in 15 minutes all across the state.
Oh,
Right?
that changes the industry.
Changes the industry. It changes long distance road travel for EV users. And that program, we hope to see the first stations open up this year, funded by the bipartisan infrastructure law funding. And that's a statewide network. Now, what's next after that? What I think of as kind of the missing middle. Community charging, in our arts districts, or charging at multifamily housing, charging in parking garages. Basically, where do people leave their car for like an hour or two where they can get a big boost and, not have to worry about, ever having to fast charge. And this is a big improvement for drivers. If you don't have to go to the gas station, that's a nice thing.
That's what I've heard. All right. Zach Kolodin, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Yeah, and Chief Infrastructure for the state of Michigan. I have no doubt after this interview that it's in the right hands.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Good job. Thanks for being with us. We are coming to you from the Grand Hotel, where the Greater Detroit Chamber of Commerce is actually having their annual policy conference. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman.